All right.
Cool. I might pop in quick with some housekeeping. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another live community classroom with Michaels. We have our friend Marley Bird with us today, and we're going to be learning how to make these adorable zigzag crochet cup cozies. They're a really quick stitch for a last minute gift or simply just for yourself. My name is Renee L. from Yarn Inspirations, and I'll be helping with any questions you might have during today's class. So please feel free to drop your questions in the chat, and we will make sure that Marley answers them. And while we're getting ready to kick things off, let us know where you're watching from and if you're a team coffee or a team tea. Over to you, Marley. Controversial.
That's funny. Coffee or tea? I think I go for hot coffee, but I'm an iced tea drinker. Hello, everybody. As Renee said, my name is Marley Bird. Nice to see all of you here. So close to a pretty big holiday coming up, right? A show of hands. If you're here in the chat, are you still working on gifts for the holidays? Like, are you still have some on the needles or the hooks? Like, yeah, I see you, Susan. Like, just so you know, if you write an IOU and you put it all in a bag, like the hook, needles, and everything, it's okay. And you just take it back home with you later on. These little coffee cozies, you guys, they work up relatively quickly. We're going to try and get one done here within the hour's time frame. And we can see exactly how quickly they are put together. You could couple this with a reusable cup, maybe a gift card to your local coffee shop or a Starbucks, and they make a good, quick, simple gift. Awesome stash busters, because I know a lot of us have some super saver yarn laying around the house in a variety of colors. So you can mix and match all sorts of colors here. And so we're going to do that. It's a very easy stitch pattern. We are going to work it up in a unique sort of way. I've actually never worked one up this way. So we're going to be doing this together as far as the learning process, but it should be pretty darn easy. I'm going to go a little bit slow to start, but then it's pretty repetitive as we get to the body. So at that point, we're just going to keep cruising along. All right, let's go ahead and go down to my hands. All right, so I just have some very simple orange yarn here. Let me know if you guys, if you can't see the color or anything. I think you can pretty good. I also have just an eye crochet hook, just a basic eye crochet hook. And we're gonna start off with a slip knot and put that onto our hook. So just put your slip knot directly onto your hook. Once you, let me turn this little, I have a little button here that's like yelling at me. So we're going to put that slip knot on our hook and we're going to chain 28. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Then after you get these 28, we're going to join it to the first stitch to form a ring. Okay. So if you chained, hopefully you didn't let it twist around too much. You should be able to see the top like V edge of your chains. Just make sure it's nice and straight and then bring up that slip stitch. I'm sorry, right where you did your first chain, we're going to bring that up and we will slip stitch into that first chain. So I just grab it, bring it up here, and I'm going to go right into that very first chain. And then yarn over, pull up a loop, pull that loop through the one on our hook. Okay. Now we have joined to form a ring. And once we do this, we're going to single crochet all the way around this ring. But I'm going to let you guys in on a little tip here. If this is something that's too hard for you, if for some reason your chain keeps getting twisted when you do this, if you just want to single crochet, you could use your tail here just to seam up that little lip that you might have there. Okay. So I don't want you to think, hold on, am I still good? My internet says it's unstable. Okay, good. I don't want you to think that it's the end all and be all. If you're trying to do this and it gets twisted all the time, there is the ability to continue on. All right, so once we join with the slip stitch to form the ring, it says single crochet in each stitch around. It doesn't tell us to chain one, but I am going to chain one. I just prefer to chain one. And then I'm going to single crochet in each one of these chains. So I chained one and I'm going to single crochet. If you don't want to chain one, you don't have to. I like to do that chain one. And I'm also going to grab a stitch marker and I'm putting it into the V behind the loop on my hook, because that V right there, that is the top of my single crochet I just completed. So when I go all the way around this, this round, I should have, if we chained 28 and then joined with a slip stitch, and then we're going to single crochet in each one, we should have 28 at the end, right? So let's go ahead and just go into each one of these chains and single crochet. Now you can go through the chain like I am. Like I like to go through, it's almost like I pierce the center and I put essentially the back loop and kind of the butt of the chain on my hook. And then I single crochet around those. And what that does is it leaves the front loop free. I like to do that. If you are somebody who likes to just go through what I called the butt of the chain so that you get a nice edge, you could do that too. It really doesn't matter. It's an absolute personal preference of what you want to do. So right now I'm just going to continue doing single crochets all the way around this chain that we've created. Pretty easy. Trying to go a little bit slow for those of you who might not be very familiar with single crochets. This is just giving us the base of our coffee or tea cozy, whatever you want to call it. It's giving us a nice stable base. Those of you who are familiar with crochet, we could have started with like a foundation single crochet. If we wanted to do that, we could have done that. That takes the skill level up a little bit on something like this, but it is something you could do. When we get to the end of this round, I'm trying to see here. It doesn't tell us to join with a slip stitch or anything. It actually just tells us to get in each stitch all the way around. And at the end of the round, it tells us to chain one. It does not count as a stitch. And then it tells us to just start building. So I looked at the notes and it doesn't say in the notes that we're working in a spiral, but it appears that that's what we're going to be doing. So that's the way I'm going to approach this. As we continue on, I'm just going to make sure I have my stitches here. Meaning I'm not going to join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet. So that was my chain one. So this is still, I'm going to count my chains to make sure I have the correct number because I might have too many. So what I do is I'm just going to pause there. So I just lengthen that to hold it. So this is my first one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Perfect. So here's my 28. That is in the first stitch that we created. That thing right there, that's the chain that I added in, that the designer didn't add that in, but I did. So round 2, it tells us we're still using color A. It says to chain one. This does not count as a stitch here and throughout, so that doesn't count as a stitch. And then it says single crochet, chain one, single crochet in the next stitch. So the next stitch is that one there. It's the first stitch of the round. So I'm going to go ahead and remove my marker. In this first stitch of the round, we're going to go underneath the entire V. We're going to go into the stitch. Okay. So it's underneath the front loop and the back loop. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2. So that's our single crochet. Here's our chain one. And then we go into that same stitch and do another single crochet. Whenever you are working on a pattern, if you're following along with the pattern and you see that in those parentheses, it says single crochet, chain one, single crochet, that lets you know that everything that's within those parentheses, that's what you're going to do in the either the next stitch or the next space or whatever is indicated right outside of the parentheses. Okay. So that's where we put all of that into one stitch. Now it says we're going to skip one stitch and we're going to repeat that. So we're going to go into the next one, do a single, a chain one, and a single. Skip one, go into the next, do a single, chain one, and a single. Skip the next, go to the next, single, chain one, and single. Skip, go to the next, single, chain one, and single. Skip, 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 single, chain one, and single. How we doing? Everybody doing good? Skip, single, chain one, single. You about to say something, Renee?
No, the chat's
Oh,
pretty
okay.
quiet. I think everyone's just focused on following.
Oh, good.
All good so far.
All right. I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of people working along with me tonight. It's pretty easy stitches. It gets unique though as we change colors here because it's a little bit different. It reminds me a little bit of interlocking crochet or interwoven crochet, depending on what you call it and how we're going to combine the two, but it's kind of neat. So here we are. So this was our first one. I got to see here. So that's my first, that's the chain one I started to begin with. So, right. I'm just making sure. So I'm going to do this again. I'm going to count because it says I should have 14 of these. Let's call them a cluster. It's not a cluster, but groups. Let's call them a group. So I should have 14. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So there's 14. Okay. So, and I made this long. So if you look at round 3, it tells us that we're going to attach color B with a slip stitch in the middle of this first group. So we're going to attach it over here. And it tells us to leave our color A with a long loop just kind of hanging out there. Okay, so we're just going to let that stay there. So I'm going to take my hook, grab my color B. I'm just going to use this blue because it's a good contrast. It says attach B with the slip stitch. So this is the first group I did. So there's my single, chain one, and a single. And it tells me to attach with a slip stitch to the first single crochet, chain one, single crochet group. But does it tell in the middle? So in the middle. So I'm going to go right between the singles. I'm just going to stick right in the middle. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through one. So that's a slip stitch. Okay. Now it tells me to chain one and then single crochet, chain one, single crochet in each chain one space around. So I'm going to start with this one. So I chained one. I'm going to single. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring this back so that way I can, did you see that at the start last one? I was like, which one was my first? Because I forget. So there's my single, chain one, and a single. Then it tells me to do that in each one of the chain one spaces. So in all of these groups, I'm going to just go in the middle of them and I'm going to do a single, chain one, and a single. Here's the group, right? There's the group. Single, chain one, and single. And take a second to really pay attention because it's very easy to get confused on which one's the group because we're dealing with single crochets, it just gets a little tricky. Like even I could mess up. I'm hoping I don't. But there's the single, chain one, single. So I'm going to come into here, right? That's what it looks like. Okay. I have a light and the camera and everything right here. So it's a little tricky to make sure I see. Single, chain one, single. So I'm going to go between there. And then here, just do this all the way around. Now I'm going to pause and just work around here, just like you guys are. If there are any questions, please don't hesitate to post them in the chat. Renee can jump in and ask me as I'm looking down here. Let's grab some yarn.
Still pretty quiet.
Okay, I think people are probably working along.
I think
my
so.
guess. You know, I know that at the different stores and stuff, they sell like leather kits and stuff with like you could get a strip of leather and you could get the hammer that punches like initials or something in it. You know, you could make your own tags if you want. Like you could just write hot coffee on one and then pierce the leather with it. Like I know there's a whole leather section at the Michaels store that's so much fun to go into, but you can make your own tags and add them to these little cuffs. Might be a little bit late right now if you're trying to get this done for Christmas, but I mean, tomorrow is the 22nd, so you still have a little bit of time. However, that is a really great thing you could do if you were looking to make something for some craft fairs or something for future gifts. These do not have to go in just holiday gifts by any means. It's a great way that you could just make your own. Okay, so I'm going to pause here for a second because I got one more to do. It says, repeat from start to end, join with the slip stitch to the first single crochet. So it tells me to go all the way to the end. So here's the last single crochet, chain one single crochet. Here's my loop that I put on hold. I'm just going to hold it out of the way. This is the one I was telling you, I've never done things like this before. So this is unique. This is different for me. All right, so there's that. It says to hold this to the back, my loop to the back. So I'm going to hold it to the back. And I'm supposed to slip stitch to my first single crochet. So I'm going to go into the first single crochet that I had marked there, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then pull that loop through. Okay. So I slip stitch to the first single crochet. Now it tells me I'm going to go back. I'm going to pick up my color A and pull it through the first chain one space, which I'm guessing is right there. And repeat from start to end, join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet. So my question there is, I'm guessing I'm putting the B loop also, I'm going to extend it like just like this one. So I'm going to extend it long and let it fall to the back, I'm supposing, or to the front. I'm not sure. We're going to go to the front. Let's try that. So we're going to put the color A back on. We're going to just give this a try together. Tighten up our color A. Now, if I do this, it's going to work around that one. So I'm just going to push those out of the way. And then, so now they're not worked around. I can take this off. All right, so I join with a slip stitch to the first single. So there's my single. Here's my chain one. So that would be my first chain one. So if I come over here, pull up a loop. Oh, so it's a chain one. So I tightened it up. Chain one, go into the first chain one space, and then work my group. And then I guess do that all the way around and just leave the blue hanging out here. I mean, seems logical to me. We're going to give that a try. Okay. Why not give it a try with me? It's exactly what my driver's ed teacher said to me. I'm from Colorado. My very first drive in a car with him, me and the other girl that was driving with me, we went up to the mountains and we drove around the mountains at these sharp hair turn curves and long, like the cliffs on the edge and all this stuff. And I remember asking him as we stopped in Silverthorne for lunch, I said, I can't believe you're having us go in the mountains for our very first drive. And he said to me, better you're with me on your very first time in the mountains than if you're by yourself. He goes, it shouldn't matter if you've been practicing a long time or not. All the same skills are there. And I said, yeah, but I don't know the muscle memory yet. And he was like, well, that's why I have a wheel on my side. And I was like, okay. So we're going to just do this together. And again, I'm going around and I'm just putting that group, that single crochet, chain one, single crochet into each one of those spaces. And, as I do this, I wonder how it would look if I were to do half double crochets instead of singles. Like, I wonder if that would look a little bit different. We're supposed to do this all the way around. and join with the slip stitch to the first one. Oh, I should have put a marker in. Gosh darn it, I forgot to do that. I hate when I do that. Here we go. My orangey color here is a little bit red, so this looks a little bit like a Superman, Spider-Man sort of cuff, right? I'm going to hold that for, it says to hold it to the back. We're going to hold it to the back. Like in the notes, it says to hold to the back. So we're going to hold to the back, and let's try this. So I got, let's see, chain one, single crochet. And then here, single crochet, chain one, single crochet. Okay, I'm going to hold that color B to the back, join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet. I can get in there. I'm going through a lot there. Here we go. Oh, slip stitch. Extend this. I'm going to hold it to the front to start and then hold it to the back at the end. So let's get my blue back on my hook. Just so it's out of the way. So that was my join. This is my first chain one space. So it says pick up B and work through the first chain one space again. So I forgot to do my chain one. So I gotta do a chain one after you make that tight. And then we go into here and do a single, chain one, and a single. Yeah. All right. And then we're going to keep repeating that until this repeat rounds 4 and 5 until the cozy measures 2 3/4 inches, ending after round 5. So we're just going to keep on going here.
While Marley's working that up, everybody, if you want to hop into the chat if you have any questions, or you know what, tell me your favorite Christmas color combination or holiday color combination, because I feel like there's so many. We all have our preferences. Personally, I am a white and gold person. Right now, I think we're inventing a new combo with that red and that blue with our Spider-Man or Spider-Man Christmas.
Spider-Man Christmas. I'm actually going to go see Spider-Man on Christmas Day. So this works. This might be perfect for me.
Oh, yeah, smuggle a coffee in.
Right. Yeah. Or get a hot chocolate there and just use my own cozy.
Ooh, that's a great idea.
You're right.
Keep it
The cool
toasty for
thing
the
here,
movie.
you guys, for those of you who are thinking about using this for scrap yarn and stuff, just like how we joined color B with the slip stitch, if you like, say you only had a little bit of what color B is and you wanted to do like a color C, you could join a color C just like you did color B to change it and make it more than 2 colors. You can make it all the colors under the rainbow if you want. Which, if you guys know me at all, my favorite color is rainbow. Like I love rainbows. I think they're so beautiful. So I am interested in doing something like that. Did I chain one? I did. So I do this, move this back to the back, come over here to the first single crochet. I'm going to go into the first single crochet. And I can get this through here, join with a slip stitch, extend that loop. It's easy for me to bring it to the front first and then to the back later. So I'm just going to keep going here. You okay with that, Renee? Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I was still on mute. Yep, that's perfect.
Good. All right. So I'm just going to keep on going I think you guys
Marley,
are,
if you have a moment in the next few rows to maybe hold up a little closer to the camera to show single crochet in the cluster. Gwen's having a little trouble seeing if we have an opportunity to do so.
yeah, we're right here. So this is the cluster or the group. So there's my single, here's my chain one, here's my single. And I'm literally just taking my hook and just going right between, like essentially these two single crochets, just stick it right in that big hole there. And you just do your single, chain one, and single. I'm gonna sneeze real quick. So I
Thank you.
gotta, give me a second.
Awesome. Yeah, I do find it's a lot easier to work with like a medium worsted with some of these projects to be able to see your stitches also.
Yes, I agree with you. I think it's easier. As much as I love the bigger, fatter yarn, like the blanket yarn or whatnot, it's harder to see when you're on camera like this, I think, to see how the stitches are getting worked up.
Totally
But
agree. And you've
I do love
almost
the
limitless
results.
colors with this too.
Good. What are the other colors? What is everybody else using out there?
Oh, we have some really good choices here. So we have red and green, a classic, blue and silver, which I love. That's very
Yeah,
millennium.
I love that.
Silver and purple, great colors for a tree, in my opinion.
I agree.
Oh, we got lots of choices here. Royal blue and deep red, dark green and light green. That's a good choice.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I see a lot of holiday cards in that color and it's great.
Yeah,
Dark purple and lavender, also
I
great
like that
choices.
too.
Sophia is asking, can you use a thicker yarn for this project?
Yes, the thing here is if you're going to change the yarn, you're going to have to change the hook. And then you're also going to have to change the number of stitches that you are using. Now, this is a stitch multiple of 2. And the reason I'm telling you you're going to have to change your stitches is because if you did 28 stitches like I did with a bigger yarn and bigger hook, it's going to be bigger than your cup. So you want to make sure that you're using a stitch multiple of 2 that's going to fit your cup. So you would have to make that adjustment, but you could use bigger yarn for sure. And it would go a lot faster.
If you want a cup sweater versus a
Yes.
cup cozy.
Yes.
To each their own.
Yes. Very much so. All right. I'm going in here to do my slip stitch. These are new to me hooks. I'm trying them out. So I'm still trying to get used to them a little bit. Okay. So forward, bring this out of my way. And then I'm going to come up here. Let me move that tail out of the way. Let's tighten that up. Chain 1. Come up here where the join was. So right here, if she, just in case she was looking at the start, this is where my slip stitch was to join. So that's my single, chain 1, single. So I'm just going like into that big space. And that's where I'm going to start with my first group. So single, chain 1, and single. I think you could totally do this with a half double crochet and a chain 1. I think that would be really great. And then just go all the way around. It goes pretty quick.
Yeah, this is a really good lazy last minute gift.
It
Not
really,
lazy. It is made with love.
yeah, it's made with love, but yeah, it's very easy. I saw the question there. What's the best crochet hook to use? Honestly, it's all personal preference, guys. There are so many crochet hooks out there. You really just kind of have to try them all and see what works best for you. Because all of you out there, you might crochet differently than I do. You can see that I hold my hook like a pencil. But I have friends who hold their hooks like knives. So they hold their hooks like this, and they really enjoy like a bigger handled hook or something. And sometimes I like bigger handle hooks. And you can see I can crochet like this. I'm just not very proficient with it. Just takes me a little while to get used to it. But I was taught by doing it, holding my hook like a pencil. So that's always my go-to, you know? But I mean, there's lots of different hooks out there. So I'm trying this one out, but I actually prefer the Susan Bates hook with this really big handle, my hand does not cramp at all when I use this. Like, even right now, guys, that feels so good. Just changing the hook out. Because my hand, I don't cramp down here. If any of you ever get that where you cramp down there, gosh, I hate that. And so sometimes if the hook is too narrow in my hands, my hand cramps too much down here at the palm. And then I can't crochet as often. But I find that a nice big handle like this, not too much tapered here, because I don't hold my hook down here. You can see I hold it up here. So my entire thumb grip of my actual needle is covered. I find this extremely comfortable. And that's just me. I have other friends who don't find it comfortable. Hooks are such a personal preference for sure. All right, here we go. Come in here. This goes back to the back. And then come in here, slip stitch, make that large, and pop it forward. Now the round 5 is with color B. So how many does the sample have? It has several. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It has 4 color Bs. I have 3. So let's just do a couple more. Yes. So we'll do color A here. Get this back. Hopefully you guys are going about the same pace I am. Don't forget to do that chain 1 and then jump on in again. And then keep on going. I'm just going to stick with this hook now. Since I changed and now it feels so good. Hopefully it's not too distracting for you guys. That's the one thing bad about using this hook when I'm doing lives, is it tends to be a little distracting. However, I will tell you guys that it allows me to get through the whole live without my hand cramping up. So that's always nice. I am curious what everybody is making for the holidays, or, just in general, like what are some of why don't we call it last minute gifts? What are some of the last minute gifts that you are working on that maybe it might give some other people some ideas? I know the other day, gosh, was it last Wednesday, Renee? I did a lunch and learn on the Yarnspirations Facebook page for a headband, and I made that within 1 hour on the live. And so you can absolutely make an awesome headband within the 1 hour. And I will tell you, Renee, my daughter, after that was over, she literally took the headband, wore it all weekend, and she's like, I have claimed this, it is mine. So she's like, this is great.
Amazing.
I know, but what are some of the things other people are making?
It's a great question. I'll wait for them to weigh in a little bit, but I will say that headband, I was surprised. I was surprised. Like you're very impressive, but I was like, oh man, we got this through in an hour, and it looked great. So I'm glad that your daughter loved it. I'm glad that it gets to have an owner that loves it. Oh, Sophia says, gotta scroll up. I did headbands, scarves, and beanies. That's a great idea. Very practical.
I've been making mittens nonstop. Really nice fuzzy mittens. Did I show them to you? Because like, I am obsessed. I've even done those Instagram reels where it's like, I'm obsessed. You don't understand. It's an obsession. Like I am so, guys, I'm going to show you just really quickly because I'm so obsessed. These are 3 right now. I have fingerless mitts that are like, so I held 2 yarns together. So I have fingerless ones. And then these are big ones for my husband, like you can't call them like Sesame Street or Muppet mittens or anything like that, but it's like you have Cookie Monster and you have Oscar the Grouch, you know what I mean? And then these are so great. I made these for my daughter actually. So these are like purpley pink. I've made 8 pairs of these, you guys, and I just could not stop making them. Like I was just obsessed with making them. So that's what I have been working on, is just mittens, so many mittens. And I don't know why, like I just, it's like I got a rhythm with the pattern and I just could not stop making them. It was so much fun. Okay, just so real quickly, looking at the pattern, it looks like that there were 5 rounds of color B, which is the blue. And so I'm going to have, or not 5, I'm sorry, 4 rounds. So that would make round 5 my 4th round. Did that make any sense? Fourth repeat. So I'm going to do this round and then we're going to jump to the edging. Okay. So that way we can get all of this done in time if you guys are cool with that. So that's where I am in the pattern, just so y'all are following along, you know exactly where I am in the pattern. So we're going to chain 1 and single and go all the way around. And when I do this, when we get to the edging part, it only talks about doing the edging on the top, but we're going to talk about doing edging down here too. We're just, I mean, why not? Let's play around with it. I have you here, and then I'll give you a couple different tips of edging stuff you could do too if you wanted to do things a little bit different. And you can always tell when I'm a designer, Renee, because I'll do things like this, like following along with the Yarn Inspirations design team design, which I love them. They are fantastic. They are just really wonderfully talented individuals. But sometimes, and it's not just them, like every single pattern I try and follow of somebody else's, I'm like, ooh, what if I did this? What if I did this? What if I did this? You know, which is exactly how I became a designer, because I just ended up changing all of the patterns I ever did and just coming up with my own things. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to start coming up with my own things. So that's what I did. But I think that if you were going to do something like this and you know it was for somebody who like loves tea or something, you know, you could make a pocket, you know, you could do like a patch pocket on here so that you have a tea bag holder. Does that make sense? Like a dry tea bag holder, like, or
Oh, that's smart.
just, I don't know, something silly and fun.
There are ways to modify everything. And yeah, I take your point. Like everyone's going to look at a pattern and see opportunities to change things a little bit. And I think that's what's so great about like the wealth of the knit and crochet community is like people always have hacks or ways to change things, and it's so collaborative.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so I'm coming up to the last time I'm going to use my color B. And my guess is that I fasten off the last time with this one. I'm trying to see here. It doesn't tell me to fasten off, but I'm going to, because I don't pick it up again, because I'm going to use A for the edging. So let's go ahead and join with our slip stitch just like we did. And then we're going to fasten off. Oh, did I go in the wrong stitch? Sorry. I can get in there. Sometimes my nails come in handy to help me get into these stitches. So I joined with the slip stitch, and then I'm going to finish off. So I usually do a chain 1 and then I cut my yarn. Pro tip, if you add a pom-pom to the end of your scissors, you'll never lose them. At least it'd be a lot more difficult to lose. So I'm going to give that a tug. I'm going to tuck that in. And no, I'm not going to crochet around it. I will go back and I will weave that in later on. But I'm going to come here, grab my color A. So grab my color A. It says pick up color A loop and pull through the first single crochet in the next single crochet, skip the chain 1 space, single crochet in the next. So we're just going to single crochet in each single crochet all the way around. But notice it didn't tell us to chain 1. And I don't know why it didn't tell us to chain 1. It feels like we should be, but maybe this time I won't. This time I won't chain 1. I'll just go into that first single crochet, which is the one I just did the slip stitch into. So it's a little bit tricky to get into, but we will make it work. This tail out of the way. All right, so there's my single. It says to skip the chain 1. So skip the chain 1, go to the next single. So this would be my next single. If we're going to go, actually, I'm going to play it this way. I'll play it this way. So that would be, nope. One more time. I'm going to do this one more time. Here's going to be my first single. I'm going to skip a chain 1, go to the single. So we're just going to single crochet all the way around if we can manage it. So it's almost like if you're looking at the tops, It's like you're going to put a single into one, skip the next, put a single in the next, skip the next, put a single in the next, skip the next. Like, don't stress too much about anything. Just get in there and make it happen. All right, how's everybody else doing? I had to blow my nose real quick. Hold on. I know I have a stinking cold, like a little tiny one. Like, it's nothing big, just that irritating drippy nose.
Sounds like somebody should be making the mitten or wearing the mittens that they make for others.
I know, right?
Keep warm in all this cold.
It's silly. Man, I feel like my kids are making so much noise upstairs. I apologize if you can hear them. Like, they are just stomping something fierce.
I can't hear anything.
You can't? Oh, that's so good, because I keep hitting mute on the microphone thinking that it's so loud. It's almost like they're purposely doing it. It's very annoying. Anybody else happy to have their children home right now? Like, it's fantastic. I really am. I love my kids very, very much. I have 3 children, you guys. Those of you who are curious, just as we're sitting here just working on stuff together, let's just, just chit chat. But I have a 19-year-old, I have an almost 18-year-old, and an almost 16-year-old. So I am in the thick of the teenage years, and they are very excited about Christmas. It's pretty good stuff. All right, so as we get through this, and it only has us doing this one round of single crochets. I'm actually going to do a second round. That's going to be my first alteration to this. I mean, shocker. I just think it'll look better on mine, not on theirs, on mine in general. I think mine will look better with I could handle a second round. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to join with a slip stitch to this first one I did. Okay, so I just joined with a slip stitch, and then I'm going to chain 1 and then just single crochet in each stitch all the way around. Okay. I just think it's going to look better on mine. Single crochet. Oh, you know what? I think I skipped too many. Y'all, you know what I did? I did single crochet, skip 1, single crochet, skip 1, single crochet, skip 1. Shouldn't have been like single, skip 1, single, single, skip 1, single. So it should have like 2 singles side by side, right? I think I did it wrong. I was talking too much. Doesn't matter. In this grand scheme of it, let's see what this looks like, because we could rip it out and redo it if we want. Let's just take a peek. I think I have too few stitches here. However, because coffee cups are usually more narrow on the bottom than the top, I could always count this as the top. Happy accidents, everybody. Let's see here. Let's just get to the end and see what it looks like. Right here. And then I'm going to join with a slip stitch. Let's just take a peek. And you can see it's a little bit narrow down there because I skipped too many, but this actually looks not bad. However, I want to do something up there. Anybody else feel that way? All right, so I'm going to rip this out and do it correctly real quick because we have time. I was like, why are these looking so spaced out? Well, that's why. Silly goose. Geez, Renee. Just took it. Totally blaming you.
I'm the crochet police.
I know, right? Just say I'm the crochet police. That's funny. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go single, and then it was skip 1 and then single, and then it's single, skip 1 and then single, and then single. I'm gonna get in here. Right? Skip 1 and then single. Okay, single, skip one, and then single, single, skip one, and then single, single. So you're going to have two singles side by side, everybody. Single, skip one, and then single. Single, skip one, and then single. One single, and single. Skip one, and single.
So I popped this into the chat as well so Marley can focus on her stitch work, but I guess I'll ask over audio as well. Is anyone working on anything interesting? Is it outside of this class, I mean, because we are all working on this cozy with Marley. Is anyone working on any cool projects for gifts or for themselves? Please feel free to drop into the chat. We'd love to see your ideas.
Very cool. So when we get to the end here, so now that I've done it correctly, you can see it doesn't pull in, it looks good, but it says repeat from start to end, and then it just says fasten off. It doesn't say to join or anything. I'm going to join. I think it's going to look better, you guys, if we join. So I'm actually going to join to the first single crochet we did. So I'm going to join it. So ideally that's where the end of your pattern goes. Okay. All right. So that's the end of your pattern. For me, I would want the top to look similar to the bottom. So I would add another round of single crochet. So let's do that. So let's chain one and just see what it looks like. And we'll just single crochet into each one and see what we get. I don't know. I'm a big person on symmetry. So I like the top to look like the bottom. I mean, yes, I have designed sweaters and stuff that are asymmetrical, and I wear things that are asymmetrical, but for the most part, I really like things to look pretty similar as from the start to the finish. And even just two single crochets, it doesn't give us a whole lot. I'm going to, for these last couple, I'm going to do a half double and let's kind of see what that looks like, because why not? So I'm just going to do some half doubles instead of singles, even though I would never do this on something actual. Like if I was going to go in with half doubles, I would have started with that at the start. Like I wouldn't start midway through, but let's just see what it looks like before we make that commitment. Now the half doubles look like they're about the same height, right? So I think I'm going to go back and go with half doubles, because I told you guys I'm going to make this, I'm going to take it to the movies with me. So for half doubles, because I'm only going to do one round, I'm still going to chain one. I think it'll be fine because I don't think I need the chain two because it's not going to count as a stitch. So I'm just going to do half doubles around. So if you don't know what a half double is, put the yarn over your hook, go into your stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and draw through all 3. Okay. You see that? And so I'm just going to do these half doubles all the way around and see if that will look a little bit more symmetrical, I think. What do you think, Renee?
I was just busy pondering the chat. Belinda was saying this pattern would be, so she's working on some water bottle holders for gifts, which I think is brilliant. And she said this pattern would be great with the water bottle carriers. I usually do half double for the body. And I was just trying to think of what you would, other ways that you could modify this, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I like half doubles. Plus it goes just a little bit faster. I think double crochets, I mean, you could do double crochets, but you might get a little bit too much surface area between your stitches so that it won't be like, it won't really be an insulated cozy-ish. However, you could line it with flannel or fleece or something if you wanted to, if that was your worry. I don't know. There's so many different options here. I mean, at the end of this, like if we wanted to, we could go back and do crab stitch, which is reverse single crochet around the top of this, and then go back and do reverse single crochet around the bottom and get a completely different look too, and have it look really neat. All right, so I'm at the start. So I'm going to join with the slip stitch at the top of the first half double. And now I'm going to finish off. To me, that just looks better. I think that looks cool. Got it? So if I turn it inside out, I have my ends here to weave in. So if you take a bent tip tapestry needle, this is a bent tip tapestry needle, and you can, we can just pop these ends, secure them in. I'm securing them in the base of these single crochets that we did going this direction first. And then what I do, so I'll pull that through. I'm going to go back the same path I did, only this time as I go back underneath these, not only am I going underneath them, but I'm piercing through the yarn I just pulled through. So it's like it's doubly like just grabbing it, pull that through, and I'll do it one more time. And I pierce the yarn I just pulled through again. And it really just locks it all into place. I don't have to worry about that coming undone. I'll do the same down here. While I'm doing this, Renee, are there any other things people are suggesting? I see a lot of people working on their stuff really avidly.
I just want to call out this genius idea.
Okay.
Susan said, I was hoping to use this for a small teapot to keep my pot warm for the second cup while I drink the first.
Oh, that's a good idea.
That's like Girl Scout logic. I appreciate that.
That's brilliant, Susan. Brilliant. Pierce this through, and that'll be good enough for me.
That's interesting. Belinda said, make an opening for the handle of the teapot, kind of like leaving a thumb opening on a mitt.
Yep.
Smart.
Yep. You could absolutely do that. And we all know how I know how to do that. Love the mittens. My mom tried to steal my mittens last weekend. She pulled them out of my coat and tried them on. She's like, I think I need these. And I'm like, no, those are mine. Don't take my mittens, Mom.
Oh, Marley, just make more.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, what's another? I mean, let's make it an even 10. Why not? So many mittens. So many mittens. But I love it. They're fun. See, guys, we made this in less than an hour. And I even had to rip out and do something different. And I did extra. So less than an hour. You got yourself a quickie little gift. Like you could make this on your way to the New Year's Eve party. Like maybe you are bringing some sort of a hostess gift and you are a little ways away or something. You can make it in the car on the way there and everything's going to be perfect. You don't have to stress too much. And it's just good. Right side out. There it is.
There she is.
There she is. Pretty simple.
That's a great idea for stitching in the wild too, or on the go, however
Yeah.
others like to put it.
All the time, like all the time. It's pretty neat. That's pretty. I've never done that sort of join. We did. I don't know. I mean, I wonder. I kept joining to the single crochet over there. I wonder if I had joined right here, if it would look like it's not leaning as much. I don't think so though, because it's all in the round. I think that's why it looks it. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because if we had went back and forth, it would look a little bit more like that. Do you see what I'm saying? Like straight, but because we're in the round, this is the nature of going in the round. Anyways, I mean, it's no big deal. It looks great. It's pretty phenomenal, pretty cool. All
Yeah,
right, if you
so
go
that's
back
two
to,
very quick projects that we have
yeah,
gotten through in an hour in 1 week, which is great.
look at me go. Look at me go, Renee. Oh, guys, I kind of held her hostage when it came to the other project. I was like, we're going with this, right? Like, you don't mind if I'm going here for a whole hour. Do you want to go back to my face, Chanel? There I am. All right, guys. So I see a lot of you here just working along with me. Thank you so much for doing that. I hope you had a nice time here on December 21st. December 21st. Tomorrow is my 20-year wedding anniversary. Can you believe that? You know what I think about when I think about, thank you, Susan, is I cannot believe I got married this close to Christmas. You know what I mean? Like at the time, it seemed so smart. I was like, yes, the facility is already decorated. Everything's already everybody's already in town for I was like, this is perfect. And now as I'm older, I'm like, my mom was a saint. Like, this is crazy. This is so close to Christmas. So yeah, 20-year anniversary tomorrow. Pretty darn amazing. I'm very excited. But that's it. There is your cup cozy. This is really kind of cool. I really am happy with this. I'm going to make mine. If you make yours, please share with us on social media. If you use hashtag Marley Bird or hashtag Yarnspo or hashtag Make It With Michaels. I know Renee's going to go over all of that one more time here, but I like to pop it in there for you guys as well. Just know that just take a little practice, take a little time. And I mean, if you're hopefully just doing it on your own, everything will come out really great. All right, Renee.
All right. So I believe the video goes on after 24 hours. So, take what you learned from this. You can take a look at the pattern and then go watch the video once it's uploaded. And that gives you, what is today? It gives you 4 days to Christmas, I think.
Less than that. 3 days. So if it's
If you're a 24th person or a 25th person.
Yeah.
My family's 24th. Yeah. But yeah, and you can add this to, if you want to do like a little gift set of tea or coffee or, just add a little personal touch to something. We think this is a great project. Just got to practice. And cool. Thank you everyone so much for being with us. This was a wonderful live community classroom with Michaels. Don't forget to share your work with hashtag Make It With Michaels and hashtag Yarnspo, as Marley said. And just a reminder that you can find more classes on michaels.com and the recording of today's class at michaels.com/classes. Thanks everybody. Happy holidays.
Happy
Happy
holidays.
stitching.
Bye, guys.
Bye.